Have you ever had an opportunity for your career and you felt that you just weren't ready for it, and your fear and your anxiety kind of held you back from throwing your hat in the ring or from giving your best effort to go get it? I recently had a friend who experienced that. They messaged me today and they said, you know what, I just had a day that defeated me and that I want to give up. I'll try again tomorrow, but And this friend is immensely talented as an artist. And this friend made me think about the Grammys this week and the power of fear and anxiety and where I think it stems from. Now, I can only speak from personal experience in my conversations with colleagues and friends, but here's my best guess. Most of us are involved participating in this mirage of social media that portrays this false portrait of perfection. And what we see in that portrait of perfection is not really aligning with our internal barometers. So we see these things that we don't connect with or that aren't us, and we feel like something is wrong with us, like we are not good enough, that we need to be living that life to be valid. Then we tell ourselves, I'm not ready for this. I need to get my stuff more together. I need to really focus on this to be more like that person. We see all these other people online with these fantastically curated shrines to themselves that may not align with reality. Or maybe their reality is just different than ours. But we feel like we need to change ourselves in order to get recognized. In other words, we need to be better so that we can look like everybody else online, so that we can stand out. And I know it doesn't make sense in my head, but that's what we do. We want to get better so we can blend in with everybody else. And that's exactly the opposite of what being an artist is. That's exactly the opposite of what being a human being is. Instead of ignoring our fear and our anxiety, or trying to quell it by creating this false portrait of ourselves that's going to hang in this museum of other false portraits, what if we leaned into our fear and our anxiety? What if we put that on display somehow? Now, hear me out. I'm not saying we should be online crying every day. I mean, if that's you, do that, cool. Yeah, do it. But really what I'm focusing on is that those feelings of turmoil, of struggle, of not belonging are insanely powerful. And those things that we think make us stick out in a bad way, make us seem like a weirdo, those things are just an incredibly powerful unifying bond that goes across so many different spectrums. And there's so much potential in it. And if we could only harness that and put it out there for the world. So this is where this week's Grammys come into play. I saw Luke Combs performing Fast Car with Tracy Chapman, who is the original songwriter and performer, which made it a hit, I think back in 1988 for the first time. And you want to talk about wildly different experiences, wildly different presentations. Let's talk about Luke Combs and Tracy Chapman. Luke Combs, born in Alabama. I think he moved to Nashville from North Carolina. Big Southern dude. I think he used to be a bouncer at a bar, but he's a country singer. One of his big hits is Beer Never Broke My Heart, which is that's about as country as you can get for a song title. Now, Tracy Chapman, from Cleveland, Ohio, black woman, dreadlocks. I believe the song became a hit in 1988. Even before Luke Combs was even born, I think she was performing this at a celebration for the release of Nelson Mandela from South African prison, which I believe she was an advocate for him. So we want to talk about just night and day experiences, right? A lot of people would probably focus on their differences, but what really strikes me and what the really powerful part about this song and the human experience is the commonality that runs through it. There are things that transcend race, religion, politics, geography, generations. There are things that just make us human. Now, we may all have different experiences in life and come from different places and have different obstacles to overcome. But the funny thing is, we are very similar, even though we seem like we are very different. We are similar in the sense that we all want the same things. We have a lot of the same fears. We have a lot of the same dreams and hopes, and pain feels the same regardless of who you are. Fear feels the same regardless of who you are. And what really strikes me about Fast Car, it's a song about wanting a better life, trying to escape circumstances that were handed to you through no fault of your own, trying to work your way to a better life, having other things come up, life being messy and hard and a struggle and sometimes heartbreaking. And if you can take somebody from a different generation, a different time, a completely different background, and sing that same song, and it hits just the same, it's powerful because it's highlighting this common thread that runs through the human experience. And I think great art does that when you can find your pain or your anxiety, your fear, your hopes, your dreams, the messy parts of life, and you can put that into your work. That's what makes it stand out, but also that's what makes it relatable and common. So you hear somebody singing something, writing something that is not clean and perfect and ready for social media, but it is heavy and powerful. It resonates with you. It makes you feel not so alone. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel like a human being. It makes you feel alive. And why does it make us feel alive? Because it's real and it's not trying to paint this saccharine portrait of something that isn't reality. Really, at the end of the day, what are we trying to do as artists or even as human beings? Are we concerned about likes and follows, creating this false narrative that we feel we need to keep up with? Is that going to matter at the end of the day, at the end of our lifetimes? Or is sharing something real that connects with somebody and makes them feel less alone, less weird, less awkward, more heard and understood? And it could be somebody from a different time, a different part of the country, a totally different person than you who's lived a different experience. But you may just highlight some kind of common parts of the difficulty and beauty of being human that might really resonate with somebody. So lean into it. And it's easier said than done, I know. Being your most authentic self, being vulnerable and open is really scary. And it's a hard skill to develop. But why did we get into our field? Was it to look like everybody else? To have the same filter? Have the same curated, manicured feed as everybody else? Or was it to share what's inside of us? Have it get out in some way? Maybe provide comfort to somebody else who's feeling the same way. I know that's why I play music. When I started hearing music as a kid, I was like, oh, somebody gets it. This is it. This is magic. And you don't make magic and beauty by playing it safe and marketing yourself as a product. Easier said than done, I know, but make yourself vulnerable. If you're here to make an impact on the world, roll the dice, take some chances. If you're trying to create something and you feel like you're not good enough, what's the worst that could happen? Put it out there. If you have a feeling that's in the pit of your stomach right now, good, do it. Put that in a bottle, get to work. It's not easy, but really the reward and beauty of being an artist and being a human being is the walk. It's not getting to that end part where everything is perfect. It is all the things that you have to overcome and can look back and say, oh yeah, I did that. And when you're overcoming things, you discover a lot of superpowers along the way. Lean into the quirky stuff, lean into the unique stuff. Every time I make a video, I think, how can I help somebody? How can I help my audience? And my audience is human beings who are out there trying to make art, trying to bet on themselves, trying to be a musician, a performer, trying to live their dreams, and talking about all the things along the way that not everyone talks about. So sometimes I'll be doing some videos about behind the scenes at a gig, preparing for a gig. You might see a live gig sometime. You might see highlights from a gig. But I want to give people insights on the journey. Also do live chats. I've been doing my live chats regularly on Sundays, usually around 3:30 p.m. Please tune in for that. Follow, subscribe. If you find this helpful, please share it with your friends. Please tell me if you find this helpful because I want to know. This channel is for you. Thanks for watching. Man, be weird, be vulnerable, take chances, screw the filters, screw the pomp and circumstance. We're not out here trying to be perfect robots. We're out here trying to be musicians, trying to be artists, human beings. All that is a very messy experience, and there's beauty in that mess. There's power in that mess. Let's get messy.